What's up, guys? Today I'm going to talk you through all of the TV shows that I've watched this year. If you've watched the last video that I posted, I've done this with all the films I've watched. Now, it should be noted, I've probably missed a couple of TV shows because I wrote this list out a little later than the film list. But here we go. Every single film, every single TV show that I've watched this year for the first time. First up, A Series of Unfortunate Events Season 3. So I love this show. I think the show's brilliant, and season 3 is the final of the seasons, and it wraps things up really quite nicely. Very funny, a lot of stylish elements, very reminiscent of some of Wes Anderson's work. Neil Patrick Harris is brilliant as Count Olaf. The two children are great as well. I believe one's called Mary Wiseman. I've seen her in other things. She's good. Lucy Punch is great as well. She's hilarious. They bring back some characters from previous seasons. Some of the characters are deliberately meant to be annoying and frustrating. It's full of character, full of charm, really quirky and unique. Very interesting show. Wraps things up really quite nicely. I don't want to say how it ends, but the end brought a smile to my face while also being emotional. So I think it does a good job of that. And yeah, I do recommend this show. It's a very family friendly show. So there's enough here if you're older like myself to enjoy, but if you're a child, you'd probably find something enjoyable here as well. Although a lot of the humor is based on words and speech, so some of it might be a little complicated for really younger audiences. But yeah, I really like this show. The Punisher Season 2. Very different from A Series of Unfortunate Events. Punisher Season 2 I thought was... I'm debating about whether or not it was as good as Season 1. I don't think it was. So I've got the full review. You can check that out on my channel. But Frank Castle is back. Ben Barnes is again back as Jigsaw this time. I think they should have went further with Jigsaw. The makeup wasn't quite Jigsaw-like, in my opinion. They should have really made him grotesque and monstrous, but they didn't do that. So there's a new character this season whose name I'm forgetting. And the name I'm forgetting is probably because she keeps changing her name throughout this season. That's not a spoiler, because she's on the run. And I think she's a really fascinating, interesting character. Her dynamic with Frank is really good because he's kind of a surrogate father to her, and she's a surrogate daughter to him. The problem is, too many episodes this season. Things are a bit dragged out. The villain's not that interesting. A little one note at times. The action is great, but the action is primarily in the early opening episodes. Yeah, it's by no means a bad season. It's by no means great though. It's good. Yeah, it's good, but it's disappointing how he never really fully embraces being the Punisher. At least not the Punisher that I want him to be. And light spoilers, the very end of this season is when he finally does that. But it's disappointing now because there isn't going to be a season 3. It did get cancelled. Maybe we'll see him return in some form on Disney's streaming service, but I doubt it. So, yeah, disappointing season overall. Well, no, the season itself wasn't disappointing, but just disappointing that's being cancelled. But yeah, I do recommend that show. You don't even have to be a comic book Marvel fan either. It's just a very good action drama crime show. Titans Season 1. So Titans Season 1, based on the Teen Titans, although they've aged the characters, so they're not teens. So Dick Grayson is the leader of the group here, and the depiction of Dick Grayson is brilliant. Perfect casting. Brendan Thwaites is brilliant as Dick Grayson. He's off on his own. He's fell out with Batman for reasons I won't get into. This is probably the best DC live action show we've seen so far. It's very different from the CW shows. This is much more mature, much more adult. A lot of bad language, a lot of sex and nudity, and extreme gory violence. So, actually, there's not a lot of sex and nudity. No. There's some, but not a lot. But it's for older, mature audiences. Sadly, some of the CGI and the special effects just don't hold up very well. So when you've got characters like Beast Boy, whose whole power relies on the use of CGI, it kind of just, oh, that looks horrible. But yeah, hopefully the second season will improve on that. The show has a good central storyline about Raven, I believe she's called Raven, trying to figure out her and her powers and trying to keep her safe because people are hunting her down. The depiction of this wider DC universe with the likes of the Doom Patrol being in there and Batman and Gotham City is really fascinating, and I hope we see a Batman TV show set in this universe someday. But yeah, you can get my full review on Titans on my channel. It's quite a long review, but I go into much more detail. I do like this show quite a bit. Outlander Season 4. So, my thoughts on Outlander have changed over the years. If you'd asked me about Outlander Season 1 and Outlander Season 2, I would say this is a brilliant show, one of the best shows on TV. Then, if you ask me about Outlander Season 3 and Outlander Season 4, I would say this show has completely lost the plot. And it doesn't really have a purpose anymore. So, the problem is with Season 1 and 2, it's very clear this is what the show's about in them seasons. Season 1, Claire goes back to the 1700s. She's stuck in Scotland in that time period. She's originally from the 1940s. And the whole point of season 1 is her trying to figure out how to get back to her timeline. Then season 2 comes along. The whole point of that season is her trying to save the people that she now knows and likes in the past timeline. And because she knows history's going to unfold, she knows bad things are going to happen to them, so she's trying to change the future. Season 3, however, the first half of the season is her trying to get back to the timeline, because spoilers for the end of season 2, she goes back to the 1940s. Season 3, time jump of like 20 years, which completely destroys all the momentum of the show. So season 3, she goes back, tries to settle again, and now we're in this point where her character in particular just does not have an overall goal, doesn't have a purpose. What's this show about anymore? If you ask me what's Outlander about right now, I can't answer that. At the best I can do is it's about her and her relationship with Jamie. Really disappointing, because this was a brilliant show in the first 2 seasons. And it's not that the show's bad, it still does a great job, brilliant acting. The storylines that it comes up with are interesting. It's just, why should I care anymore? What's the whole point of the show now? So, yeah, disappointing season 4. Hopefully they'll turn things around in season 5. But I'm not so sure they will. The Good Place, season 3. So, The Good Place is a really good comedy. Now, it's not the funniest thing ever, I'm not going to lie about that, but one of the reasons it's really good is because it's smart. It makes you think. So it addresses loads of things about like ethics and morals and the afterlife. It's really bringing up these interesting themes and topics, and it really makes you just consider them in a bit more detail and depth in ways that you probably haven't before. So Ted Danson is in this, he's brilliant in this. And I keep getting mixed up with which Kristen this is. This is Kristen Bell, I think. Right, because there's Kristen Stewart, that's not her. So Kristen Bell. Then there's a Kirsten Stewart, I think, as well. So yeah, I'm going to say Kristen Bell, but I'll double check that. She's good in the lead role. There are a bunch of other characters. All the characters are really interesting. Jamila Jamil's in there as well. She's really become an outspoken person across social media these days. And not that that's a bad thing. Yeah, one of the reasons I really like The Good Place is, yes, it's funny, but it's not the funniest thing ever. But it's really just smart. And it does a good job of constantly having these big moments to end episodes on, and big reveals and surprises and twists and turns. Can it keep it up? I don't know. It's done so many so far. It keeps twisting what it is and keeps changing it, and it's just really, really well done. So yeah, check it out. And if you don't know what this is about, it's basically a group of people. Well, at first it's not even about the group of people. It's about Kristen's character. She's died, and this is the afterlife, and she thinks she's in the good place. We're 3 seasons in now. I don't want to spoil what happens between them, because you do need to check it out, and there are some surprises. Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, season 5. Not season 5. Is it season 5? Oh, it is season 5. Oh, I didn't even realise that it went on so long. So, Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. I thought the first season of Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt was really good. I love Tina Fey. I love the things she does. 30 Rock is brilliant. This is basically from the same people that made 30 Rock. Tina Fey made that. but Tina Fey only has a small role in this. And if you like the comedy of 30 Rock, you're gonna like this, but this is not as good as 30 Rock. The problem with this is that over time, the main characters, particularly the character of Titus, becomes really annoying and really grating, and it's disappointing because it makes the show tough to watch. Because his character in particular, and it's not just his character, it's the other characters as well, but he's like the real one that really frustrates me, is that he just becomes so annoying and so loud and frustrating to watch. It makes the show really unlikable at times. But this season, one of his better seasons, I would say. So that's a good thing. The show has ended. This is the final season. I think it wraps things up pretty nicely. And Kimmy Schmidt is just a great character. Ellie Kemper is really good in that role. She's so enthusiastic, so energetic. And that's good because she's supposed to be like basically a young woman, a young teenage character in like a grown up woman's body because she hasn't matured, she hasn't grown the way most people would because she's been stuck in a bunker all her life. What the show does well is it really looks into the psychology of the characters and how that her unusual upbringing has affected her life, basically. But it's not the funniest show ever, sadly. It's not. It has got annoying characters, it has got annoying storylines, but this season, season 5, does wrap things up nicely. It's not the worst season, it's one of the better ones. But yeah, check that out if you're interested. If you're a fan of 30 Rock, you definitely have to check it out. Kingdom, season 1. This is a Netflix show. It's a zombie apocalypse show with a twist. It's set in South Korea. That's not the twist, although I suppose it is. But it's set in what is their kind of equivalent of like feudal medieval South Korea. So it's not modern day. It's all with they're wearing big gowns and robes. They've got swords and so on. And what's really good about this show is that it's not just a zombie apocalypse. It's also a very political, historical show. So basically, what's happened, the king or the emperor, I can't remember which it is. I think it's the king, has gotten ill, and all of his subjects and servants are trying to cover it up and keep it secret because, well, that's a pretty big deal. They don't want everyone to think that the king's dead or in serious danger. And the king's son, meanwhile, is really trying to figure out what's going on because not even he's being allowed to see his dad. And why isn't he being allowed? Because, well, the king remarried and has a new wife who's pregnant. So they're trying to prolong the news about the king's illness so that his pregnant wife can give birth and then that son would get the throne over the actual legitimate rightful heir. So there's a lot of political stuff going on during the day, and then during the night, it's a zombie apocalypse. So one of the things I really liked about this is that it does twist your idea of what a zombie is. It's not your straight up zombie. Exactly. This is an illness. It dives into what makes these zombies tick, why they're like this, what's the cause of this. And there are some surprises on there. So for example, these zombies are dead during the day and during the night they're zombies. So literally during the day they're just corpses. And that's a really good twist on it. And it's also a build up to it. It's not like right from the gate, it's not a zombie apocalypse. It's very slow build and they're trying to control it, they're trying to maintain it. And yeah, it's just a really good show. It's a zombie apocalypse show with a few differences, and I do really recommend it because it's quite smart and unique. Of course, it is South Korean, so there are subtitles. Some people have a problem with that for some bizarre reason. Russian Doll Season 1. Russian Doll, one of the best shows this year. Brilliant. Really, really good. Basically, what's happened, I don't want to go into spoilers at all for this show. You have to watch this. It's a comedy, half-hour episodes. Natasha Lyonne, absolutely brilliant in the lead role. Basically, she is at her own birthday party, and later on she dies. Then next thing you know, she's back at her birthday party. And later on she dies. And next thing you know, she's back at her birthday party. This keeps happening. Every time she dies, and death is right around the corner each and every time. She has to learn each time she comes back what's causing her death and trying to avoid that and trying to figure out what the hell's going on, why she keeps getting brought back to life at her party. And really dark, really twisted at times, really funny at times as well. Again, Natasha Lyonne, brilliant in the lead role. Great characters. It's a bit like Groundhog Day, but it goes further than that. It actually has like a meaning and a purpose behind it. Trying to work out what the themes and the messages are, it's a little tough. There's a lot up for interpretation. I'm really interested to see what season 2 is going to be about. Apparently, they've got like 3 or 4 seasons planned for this, so hopefully, we'll see more. Absolutely brilliant show. Check it out. Best show this year so far. Mayans MC Season 1. So, this is the spin off sequel to Sons of Anarchy. It's not as good as Sons of Anarchy. It's basically just, it's a bit like Fear the Walking Dead in that it's just another Sons of Anarchy show, but somewhere else. It does have ties to Sons of Anarchy. There are characters who pop up from that. I like the lead character here, played by J.D. Pardo. He is just came out of prison, joined the biker gang, and this isn't spoilers, this is all in like the first episode. The reason he's out of prison is because he's made a deal with the feds to basically find the cartel and lock them up in exchange for his freedom. This of course has big moments leading up towards the end when, well, yeah, it has repercussions, let's say. 10 episodes. The problem is some of these episodes are really long. The pacing is really slow. The characters aren't quite as interesting or as developed as they were in Sons of Anarchy. The storylines aren't all that unique. I've seen similar storylines play out before in different shows, but it's certainly not bad by any means. Yeah, I think there's a lot of potential here. If I remember rightly, Sons of Anarchy, the first season of that was rough as well. It wasn't until season 2 when it really hit its stride. And I think that might be the same case here. So hopefully season 2 of Mayans MC will be better. But yeah, this isn't by any means a bad show, it's just alright. The Umbrella Academy Season 1. So this is a superhero TV show about a dysfunctional family who were all adopted, who were all born on the same day many years ago. And it's good, I liked it. Maybe there's 1 or 2 episodes more than there needs to be. Maybe some of the episodes are a little long. But it's got really fascinating and interesting characters. It explores their relationship really well. It explores what it means to be a superhero and famous and celebrity. I was a little annoyed towards the end when one of the characters basically has been shunned their entire life, and what should have been a big learning moment and really big experience for all the others, they just done it again to her, and that was annoying to me. But yeah, this feels again much more like a setup to things to come. I think it will get a second season. Ellen Page, the lead character in this, brilliant. She's just on a whole different tier to everyone else in this show, and it shows at times, particularly towards the end when her performance is just great. Yeah, I've got a full review of The Umbrella Academy on my channel. You can check that out there. True Detective Season 3. So, I'm not huge on True Detective. Season 1 I thought was just alright. Season 2 I only watched the first episode. This season is the only season of True Detective I've watched all of, so that probably says something. It's Mahershala Ali as a detective with his partner Stephen Dorff. Both of them are great. I think they're both going to get some sort of award attention this year at the Emmys. Mahershala Ali especially, great performance. But this storyline plays out in 1980, 1990, and then 2015. They do a good job with the makeup and the special effects to make them look older in each time zone. The central mystery is basically 2 children have gone missing. They're there to find out what's happened. This season only had 8 episodes, but that's like 2 or 3 more than it needed. It's really slow, really hard to watch at times, really hard to keep your interest levels in there. It's not bad by any means. There's a good story there, good characters. Just the pacing is problematic. It won't be for everyone. The tone is really tough as well. And yeah, a lot of people love True Detective. I realise that I'm one of the minority who just isn't that keen on it. And I think it's more to do with detective stories and crime stories just aren't really my cup of tea at times. So yeah, I thought it was alright. And you can check out my full review for more. Suits Season 8. So season 8, I really like the start of season 8. It felt like a reboot of sorts because they have lost two of their main characters. They have brought in new characters. So Katherine Heigl is one of the new characters. I think she's good. Not much more to say about her. The show does delve into her character a bit as it goes along, especially with her relationship with Wendell Pierce's character. And the problem is this season, it just kind of goes along the same beats that it's gone along all along. There's very little new, very little unique. The next season has been confirmed to be the final. I think now is the time to end it. In fact, it probably should have ended a couple of seasons ago. Over time, the show's just kind of lost what it's about. It's no longer really about crime. It's no longer a legal drama. It's very much about the characters. And the problem is the characters are just kind of going through the same things over and over again at this point. Not a bad season by any means, but not the best. Afterlife Season 1. This is the new Ricky Gervais show. So, Ricky Gervais, his comedy is questionable at times. He's probably the sort of person that you either like or you hate. This show is depressing. It's really depressing. It's about a man who's having a hard time after the death of his wife, and because of that, he's just basically being a dick to everyone he sees and everything that's going on around him. The only real reason that he seems to be carrying on with his life is because he's got a dog that he's got to look after. The comedy in here, very questionable because he is being a bit of a dick. A lot of the comedy is at the expense of us. So I think overall, there's a lot of heart in this show. If you can overlook the depressing nature of it, this show will not be for everyone, by the way, because of that. This will be too much for some people, and I don't recommend it for everyone. But if you can overlook that, if you can get by that, there is a interesting character study and interesting focus on the themes of death and how you cope and moving on from that. I think it does a good job of that. I think it ends well as well. And we are getting a second season, it has been confirmed. So it'll be interesting to see where it goes with that. Ricky Gervais here is kind of just playing Ricky Gervais though. Nothing wrong with the performance, it's just that he's just playing himself basically. One of the things I noticed though is that you've got a lot of comedians in here like Joe Wilkinson and Russian Connerty, and then there's another comedian in there whose name I'm forgetting. But you've got all these really funny people in this show, and none of them are being funny. Ricky Gervais is the only person in the show who's being funny, who's making jokes. And yes, he's making jokes at the expense of everyone else, but it feels like, why have all these funny comedians in there and not make them funny? It's like Ricky Gervais is almost trying to hog the spotlight a bit. Maybe that's not what's going on, but that's what it seems like. But yeah, Afterlife, it's fine, but it's tough to watch at times. Love, Death and Robots. So Love, Death and Robots, 18 short 15 to 20 minute episodes. Each one tells a different story, different animation style. They're all animated, except for one which is live action with like animation, but yeah. They're all animated. They're all focusing on the themes of love, death, and or robots. So some are better than others, some are really good, some are really bad. Most of them are just alright. There's a lot of cool elements in here, a lot of cool themes and visuals, a lot of different styles. Some of them are more 2D animations, some of them are really like intricate and detailed, almost trying to mimic real life photography. And yeah, the animation styles in this are really just brilliant. The problems with this is that some of the stories, because they are so short, don't get enough time, they don't get enough to develop. They are just really ideas that have been made into short films, but they haven't really been developed more than just the initial idea of them. Some of them probably should have been a bit shorter than they were. The big problem, though, is the representation of female characters. And why is that a problem? Because most of the female characters in this at some point will be naked completely. You'll see them completely naked, full frontal, a lot of sex, a lot of nudity, a lot of violence, a lot of gore. Completely unnecessary. A lot of the adult elements of this show just don't need to be there. And it's questionable at times. It's almost, I said this in my full review, which you can check out, but it's as if this show was made by horny teenagers for horny teenagers. But like I said, it's very cool, very interesting. I do recommend it. But some of the films are better than others. Final thing I'm going to talk about today is Arrested Development Season 5, Part 2. So, Arrested Development, first 3 seasons, absolutely brilliant. The first 3 seasons are undoubtedly one of the best comedy shows ever made. Then season 4 came along, not quite as good. Season 5 came along, maybe a little better than season 4, hard to say. This part of season 5 though is a problem because it's just not that funny. I don't know what's happened here, but the jokes just aren't working. The jokes are dated. It's almost as if they've gone too much in with the budget of things, too many different camera angles, and the jokes just aren't landing because of that. Some of the film making in this is terrible. They've got additional dialogue recording all over the place where you can clearly see the characters' mouths are moving, but what they're saying isn't really what they're saying. There's also really odd uses of doubles and stand-ins because clearly the actors couldn't be there because of their schedules. So you've got one character talking to another character where the camera angle is clearly trying to hide the fact that that character isn't actually there. It's actually someone looking like that character. And this happens a lot. And it just makes you wonder, like, why? Why would you do this? Why go to this length to make the show so disjointed and so odd like this? Yeah, some shoddy filmmaking in there, where you can clearly tell they've tried to go around all the facts that the schedules are a problem. Some characters only ever interact with one other character, and they're clearly being sectioned off. It's like, right, you're going to interact with that character, you're going to interact with that character. Then later on, maybe we'll have some switchover. It's like, it's weird the way that they've done it. This could be the final season. I'm not going to say how it ends. I hope it is the final season though. The quality of the show has gone downhill. Even some of the things that were always reliable, comedy-wise. So David Cross's character as Tobias Funke was hilarious. You could always rely on him being funny. Even he's not that funny this season. So now's the time to end it. It does wrap up nicely. There is something there that could lead to another season, but I don't think it'll be entirely necessary. And yeah, hopefully Arrested Development will be brought to an end because the time's right. Especially since you've also got Portia de Rossi, who has retired from acting, so much so she's only in one episode of this whole second part. Just to end Arrested Development already. It was brilliant, now it's not. And I'm having problems speaking now, I'm losing my voice because I spoke too much. So I'm going to end here. That is the last thing I want to talk about. Thanks for watching. If you like this, let me know. I might do more of this later in the year. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at @the_Grant_Burton. Subscribe to my channel, give me a thumbs up. Leave comments and feedback down below. Let me know what you think of all the things that I've talked about today. And until next time, thanks for watching.